now, and violated more, violator and violated by patriotism that so readily, opaquely clouds the causes of war. The grunt is dead, as grunts are meant to be, at risk, that high commands are protected from by the wuthering heights of hierarchy. 25% of women raped are supposed to report the rape to he who rapes. A just punishment for she or he who's not conscientious objector to war. And the courts even agree. The base debased protects the top, but which is overtopped and toppled when defecting from war. Sortie, obtained by ruling class conspiracy from the Corsican mafia, opened JFK's head from the grassy knoll. 4. Inter alia, reversing deployments to the Vietnam War. Every name on the Vietnam Memorial is a tribute to Sortie's marksmanship, an even bigger tribute to media, which requires that you discover Sortie in ignored and disrespected poetry. Every name an endorsement of deadly law enforcement, and likewise with Rabin, who had a change of heart about war, and by Eli Barak shot in the chest. Let us say, for the sake of poetry, shot in his change of heart. 2 exceptions, each dying like the grunt, all converging in a proof of the warfare nature of the state. But back to the grunt. How many did he kill before he got his? Something is lacking in partisan tears.
Thank you, good man. Take the microphone. I think I'd like this one. No, I'll be in stereo or something. Hi. Thank you. Why don't I just stand in between and yell really loud? This is what I'm doing right now. The next person we've got up here, I think she's a newbie. Yeah, which means we've got to scream like mad, Friala. I'm really hoping so. Come on up here, my darling. Come on up here, my love.
Right mic. Your voice is beautiful in this mic. This one.
The voice sounds better in that mic?
Your voice, at least.
Oh.
Okay, in my mother's language, I used to write poetry that had to do with images and atmosphere and word games. And unfortunately, my language here is very...
And then tilt it opposite that it won't fall.
Okay, great, thanks. Language here is kind of just academic. So this poem at least is more cognitive ideas. And it's, I'm a person of the moment most of the time, but this is kind of reflection. I guess I'm getting old. Thanks for laughing. Who knew that my new is ancient, forgotten in uninterested faces of the new generation of semi-olds, gnawing sushi and fresh wasabi, stock value, and the carbs. Who knew that my postcard collection will stay virgin, never be stamped on by US made? Lost in the present, buried at the bottom of a shoebox, lay the best times of my life. heavily breathing under piles of beige handwritten paper? Who knew the press will get depressed and that Life, the magazine, will croak lifeless? Who knew that connecting implies now 3 degrees of separation? That a Facebook chat is faceless and voiceless? Who knew that the selfie would become one self-affirmation, a digital density to tweet and post? Who knew that the war is still on? It's agreed we have to defend our sect. Which side shall we hand our children to this time? Who knew that guns are now carried or concealed to protect us from each other? Who knew that gays are people, that queers will lead us to the rainbow of meeting our own humanity?
Bravo.
Who knew that Negroes are African American now, but still Negroes? That to stand your ground means to take a black man off it? Who knew that revisionists aren't geared to correct, but to repeat old mistakes? Those are the new Nazis. Who knew that the gauze, whining zithers, shepherd flutes, and puffs of incense and pot are only a product of my aging reconstructive reminiscence, a waste of an otherwise productive time? And who knew that my children will step outside the inside with me in search of a world without any barbed wire and mean, jealous gods? Who knew? The second one is kind of a lighter, but it's also reflecting on the past and unfinished business that all of us have. As we get old, they kind of come back from the storage. But it came out lighter, like Dr. Susie, you know. It's called Cat. I never blow my top off. Stay cool, I say. Keep down. So who's that erupting from my chest? Complete mess. Mad about numbers. Sometimes in the past I didn't correctly add. Numbers that are fighting back, snarling at each other. Up in the air, catching some, I circle them in red. Forget it now, I tell me. Some numbers just won't add. Go to sleep, it's too late. You left them in the red. Pitch black is the night. As the numbers get scrambled, jump over the circle, they screech, dive in my hair. Pulling my eyelids apart, they peek inside my head. I turn on the light, grab the cat to bed. He doesn't care a bit, looks at me like mad. And though so deep asleep, he shoots the numbers back to red.
Oh, she tells me I sounded better in this one? Is that what it is? So I'll be in this one. I have no idea what that means. But thank you very much. That was awesome. I hope to see you again every other Wednesday. And if you want to know anything about this open mic, you can always go to www.chaoticarts.org/thecafe. Cafe Gallery right here at Gallery Cabaret. And I wanted to let everybody know that usually what we do, I usually like to do this after Joffrey because we like to, spy on you, like the NSA is always, hey, Rahm Emanuel's putting more cameras up to monitor everything that we do in Chicago, right? Well, I video record open mics and features, so if you think that your stuff isn't going to be out there, no, it's, if somebody is deathly afraid of having stuff put up on a YouTube link or a possible potential poetry podcast, let me know. Usually, because it's every 2 weeks, we would have the second week be an open mic, but we've got two phenomenal features from both Robin Fine and the man just flew into town, UK poet Oz Hardwick. Yeah! He's like, I'm trying to stay awake here because I just flew in. And I won't even say any jokes about that. But, and that is why I'm holding this crazy old bag, which means I personally would like you to put your life savings into this, because I'm going to split this feature money up. It's enough. Split this feature up money with the two of our phenomenal features, so give what you can. I suppose you can give change, but do whatever. Hey, who you calling? Just kidding. I have no idea what that was. So I'm going to pass this around throughout the evening. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to ask my handy-dandy sidekick, Bob Rashka, to come on up and entertain us, sponsor. Give it up for my love.
Who was the song by?
That was originally by Depeche Mode.
Oh,
And we changed the words.
it's a good song.
It's a very lovely song.
Yeah.
And you'll put in money for this later.
Yes. Okay. First one is called Under the Floorboards. The epigraph. This is a song from under the floorboards. This is a song from where the wall is cracked. That's by Magazine. It's not as disarming as you might think. I like it fine down here. Sometimes it gets a little cold, little drafty, but it's okay. I need space, and just now the only way for me to obtain space is to be way down here, where tiny creatures of the deep gray world creep their patient, humming way through their productive, oblivious lives. And it's okay for them, for me to be here in their world too. Don't be too blue. I might collect dust eggs or slime goo. I might collect a scab or a tentative tattoo. I might collect a little spot of someone's long-lost poo. It has nothing to do with you. Put your magnifying glass up against the cracked hardwood, and we can play peekaboo. If you behave and refrain from too much pleading and wheedling, maybe sometime I'll come up and reunite. I make no special promise, because I like it fine down here, but a man has to have clean air. So there. Sit tight, my little horny owl. Sit tightly on your kitchen chair. One day when your cupboard's bare and the moon refuses to appear, find me treading up the stair and be comforted. I wanted to let you know that on Monday nights through June 2nd, Dan Godston of Border Bend, some of you probably know who he is doing a freebie over at Mozart Park. And I put a few flyers up for it in the back. It's called Chicago Heroes and Journeys. And he needs people there, but it's really fascinating. Poetry, music, visual art, you name it. Dan's got it all, and he does a great presentation. It's very informative. This Monday he did Mies van der Rohe and Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, or however you say that. All people who have lived or were born in Chicago and did some really great things as far as culture. This is a poem I wrote a few weeks ago out of that, but don't go May 19th because Bob Lawrence is featuring at Jack's Tap. I'm going to try and I might have to miss it too because I told him I want to really see him there. I haven't been going to Jack's lately, probably because of that mostly. But this is a poem I wrote out of that. I also want to say I'm very, very sad to hear that Johnny's Grill is gone over in Logan Square. That was kind of a bummer. So I ate at Lula's Cafe and probably spent twice as much. That place is a little out of my speed, but the food was good. This is about Catherine Dunham, who was quite a pioneer in dance and choreography and brought to the underprivileged kids of East St. Louis, Illinois, a whole world of dance. This was, if you can see it, we were also tracing a picture of Haitian dancers. So we each were called upon, there were at least 5 of us there that night, we were called upon to trace any lines in the picture of the people dancing. I have encountered another hero, another cultural container, from a life so long and accomplished, someone who went where many feared to tread. Can she inspire me? Can anyone? I have seen and heard. I follow the spirit, the rhythm of the dance. I can be moved. I can be seduced. But I need to plant both feet on the sacred ground and begin a new journey. Take another breath. Feel it contract. Sleep. Awaken again. Thanks. And last but certainly not least, from the Outlaw Bible of American Poetry, this is Poetry in Orange County by Bruce Isaacson. I don't know if I should read the whole thing. Oh yeah, okay, I can squeeze it in, I think. When we got to the college, we were fucked. There was no poetry-hungry throng, no collection of trendy art punks, and no $300 check either. There was an empty auditorium and a professor with a perfect Southern California body and a firm grip, as if he was either going to impress someone or intimidate someone. He decided I was someone. So when the conversation turned to careers for poets, it seemed like time to leave. We ended up at a bar. Only this being Los Angeles, the bar was in a shopping center. It was filled with loud ex-football player dudes in surfer shirts, who had all grown the exact same mustache, as if Jung's collective unconscious had appeared in the furry spot on the lip. Someone explained it as the Orange County version of rednecks. And when a few of them heard we were poets, they taunted us to go through with the reading. So we found a space at the corner of the shopping center, a 20-foot concrete slab only a sidewalk away from the Pacific Coast Highway, beneath an inexplicable 15-foot pole sign that said, lingerie. We stood out there, 4 poets and 4 hecklers, reading poetry at the car speeding past, feeling both fabulous and stupid. When a street person about my age walks past wearing an old suit like pajamas, homeless and drunk like he was transporter beamed out of the Bowery to the landscaped parking lots of Orange County. And as the poet was shouting at the traffic, the bum began shouting at the poet. Then the audience began shouting at the bum. And then shriek, skid, crash, 4 poets, 4 rednecks, and a street crazy gaping at the car metal's crunch. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, my darling. I know, glasses. Thank you very much. I am going to actually, oh wait, I'm supposed to, which mic do I use? Everyone's like, that one. I don't know
The mic you like.
This one's taller, so I'm going to use this one because whatever. I'm going to ask so that we can have time for our features. 5 minutes for a spot. I wanted to give Bob Star all the time in the world, but
I'm sorry.
no. I just said that. I would have if I could have said something in the middle of that, but you have all the time in the world, my darling, and so just to make sure that both of our features can have plenty of time. That's all I'm thinking. That's all. And see how long I'm taking to pull this off. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Patrick Hurley. Patrick Hurley!
So I just completed my dissertation. I'm going to read it for you now. It should only take about 2 hours. So from Screws Fall Out, I have copies. These poems. These poems I give you, words, expressions, emotions, feelings. They are free and can be dismissed, but they will exist nonetheless. Take them, leave them, they are yours. What we were. What were we? What were we then in the spring of our love? Bright flowers open to the sun's glory, folding our petals tight, together in the night's chill, an embrace opening to each morning. Were we but leaves fresh and new, growing through our summer, stretching out our points to grab what light, what life, what energy we could hold in ourselves, feeding the roots we had set deep within fertile soil, giving rise to seeds, that would grow into their own trees, sprout their own leaves. Our fine greenery, our beautiful blooms, set out only to flame in final color, then wilt and shrivel, torn from our trunk, cast adrift in autumn winds. Our dormant winters holding the colds of our past droughts in tight rings, waiting for a spring rain that did not come. Our growth stunted by life's misdirection. Lumberjack lawyers come now with sharpened axes ready to hack what remains. We fall to the saw, milled to plank, set in the kiln, our moisture remove. We are hardened, ready to be something new. No Alexander solution for us. Your hair, delicately brushed above your ears by soft finger tips. Your hand on me, holding tight. I am with you and I am happy. Our demons kept at bay for the evening. We are blessed with equality, humility, humbleness, wrapped around each other, a knot of flesh, Gordian in complexity. Slowly we dig out the folds and begin to love each other for real. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to be a fifth?
You know, I had just said to John, I'm like, hey, when we're going to be singing that next part, which maybe, if we have time before the singer-songwriter night, we might do the song again for latecomers that didn't need it before. But I said to John, I'm like, hey, in that last verse, we were going to be looking at each other, but you weren't really looking at me. So I couldn't just look at you. And he's like, yes, you can. You can. I'm like, shush. All right, that's enough of that. Please, ladies and gentlemen, whichever height you like, my darling, please get up for Jerry Pendergast. Woo!
I'll take the short one.
I'll just do this. It's a tall one. What?
Yeah, we're north of Madison Street, but let me ask you this question. Have you ever heard anyone say to friends, parents, or other relatives, I'm going to 35th and Wentworth to see the Saxies play? No, you do not. All right. Did I answer your question? All right. This is review week at work. We have a system at Northwestern. Basically, if you got an entry-level job, you're supposed to pretend that you think it's your career. So it's got me in the mood for reading something I wrote a few years ago pertaining to something that happened 30 years ago with an unnamed editor called Correcting a Poem. I stir some half and half that I have poured into my coffee at the Triple Expressions Cafe, that is. A tall couple walks by on the street. Should I have them walk in the last stanza? When I wrote an earlier draft, a short man walked by in the first stanza, looked in, but did not enter. Had he reappeared in the last stanza, you might have accepted my work. If the tall couple enters the cafe in the last stanza, I must incorporate them into the first stanza. Or should I just stir my coffee in the last stanza? I have no reason to. I have not gotten a refill or poured in more half and half, but it might make my poem stylistically correct. Now, I could just have the short man. Never mind. In centuries gone by, poets often would force rhymes, desiring to hear those inner chimes that came with acceptance letters and what we now call snail mail. Ain't it so cool? We are now free of those constraints in modern times. It is spring, and spring sometimes gets me in a silly mood. This is called Jack, the Lynx, and the Jigs. Jack went out to chase the jigs that took away some of the links between towns. Jack stopped and stared at the road closed sign, a crater still in the road, another sign that read to my as to the L and the name painted over. Jack could not find the jinx, but organized a crew to pave that crater, removed the giant logs, blocking the forest trail, restoring the signs and most of the links between towns. A much younger man wrote this poem. In the warm weather, I often hung out as a late teen and early 20-something between golf courses at what is now called Warren Park. It wasn't an organized park then. It was ode to an oak tree, Warren Park, early 70s. I stand in front of you, barefoot, arms outstretched. It's early dusk. I absorb your greenness with eyes, breath, listen to leaves slightly riffling while you photosynthesize. I dig my feet into the ground. Can I connect your roots to my nerve endings? Thank you.
Thank you. Did you catch all of your paper?
And my
You
clothes.
forgot some more paper, my darling.
My paper and my clothes.
That's awesome. I need to collect my paper and my clothes in order to get off the stage. Thank you very much, Jerry. I think I'm going to call up Michael Ho. Please, this man doesn't remember. Get up here, everybody. Love you. Come further than I do. Give up for Michael Ho.
I'm going to read two poems that I wrote in April, just last month. I've seen moles flying every dozen days, skirting the ground, clicking their wings. I've marked their runs. I've set my flags. This is where they start. This is where they fade, leaving dirt and returning to dirt. I've seen their holes, a mole width apart, a dozen here, a dozen downstream. I thought they were root burrows or yesterday's potato rain or steps left from people's parting, but it's not, it's moles. I've seen their bodies caught in low branches, straining for dirt, suffocating the air like pumpkins in a tree, like roots in a chair. I've heard their wings louder than a shrub kicking air, softer than poured dirt. Take 100 sheets of paper and drop them. Flying moles sound like that. I've listened for moles with my head on the ground. They're here, they're very near. You can bring them up, just tap. Moles will look into a tap. I've heard neighbors say when I hear the moles flying, oh, someone just dropped the pumpkin. Oh, someone just tightened the bolt. Oh, someone just lowered a case. But it's not, it's moles. When people laugh at a poem, I think that's the best. Tap the ground with the side of your thumb. Find a clipped spot away from puddles and strong dew. Put your ear on the ground, either left or right. Tap 3 times if you like threes. If you like sets, tap in sets. Some people dig, some people knock. Diggers never pause, knockers never. Knockers hate to stay. Tappers tap and wait. Tap a tap. Sometimes you'll feel small, sometimes you feel key. Tap in the right place and the earth sounds like a pumpkin. Tap other places and nothing happens. So go there walking and bring an ear and bring a thumb. Put that ear on the ground and a thumb beside that ear. And with your ear on the dirt and your thumb tapping the ground, nobody had better see you.
I look like a buffoon. I'm like, I can't appropriately applaud because I'm holding stuff. And that's because recently he was a feature, I believe, and he read, and at one point he read this short story, and I'm like, that's so awesome, send it to me. And he did, and that's going to appear in a future issue of CC&D magazine. CC&D Magazine is one of the magazines I run at Scarce Publications, which I say, hey, I want to publish stuff, and if I like it, I can appear in, starting in 2014, a 6x9 ISSN number and ISBN number book that would be sold at Amazon.com, which means it is sold in the UK, it is sold in Europe, and one of our features, Oz Hardwick, he's like, yeah, I have that one, yeah, I have that one, I have that one, because I'm like, that, yeah, you're crazy. And in fact, this current issue, shot out of a cannon, which I won't talk about how cool this cover is, even has a poem by our next reader. So please, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Don Hargraves. I know it's on this thing, but it might be easier to read on the big thing. So it's your call. Which do you think it's easier to read from? Read from there?
I think from the sheet of paper, yes.
Oh, don't lose your thing then.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Anyway, this is sort of the title of this one being published is Ignore the Media Circus. Here's the real story about the death of Osama bin Laden. Just finished with another night of poetry and I was in the mood for something to drink, so I happened upon a 7-Eleven and walked inside. My first thought was to go to the fountain section, but I saw a couple of ladies walk into the counter, each with a Bolt Blue raspberry can. I smiled knowing what I wanted. So I walked to the cooler and opened the door to reach for the can. Woman, why do you advertise your shame? I heard the man at the counter ask. Then suddenly came the crash of busted glass and shouts of, get down on the floor! Get down on the floor! I dropped, letting the can slide away, then felt the gun barrels on my head and back, and a shot rang out, followed by the words, got the bastard in the left eye. I don't remember much after that. And from what I remember, I know I'm glad to forget most of it. Questions shouted at me point blank, and sitting in chilly rooms without clothes are not memories one wishes to hold on to. Eventually I was let go with a warning that I better not try to do something funny. Needless to say, I drove straight home and drank water from the sink that night. You, of course, know the rest of the story. What the rest of the story is supposed to be. Found in a Pakistan military town, killed there and dumped into the sea. Well, I can tell you that story is false. Just don't give me any Bolt Blue raspberry pop. This last weekend I was with a group of people. We were trying out different beers. The difference being we would try out beers mixed in with stuff. First thing that
It's a sacrilege.
well, here's the thing. First thing the person served up was, half a glass of beer and a half a glass of lemon juice.
Tomato juice is actually really good.
No.
And everybody commented. I was like, wait a minute, we can make this ourselves. We don't have to buy any Line Cool lemon shanties anymore. So, coming from that, title of this is Workers of the World, Relax. Imagine a strike that cannot be satisfied, because the strike is the satisfaction of all demands. Imagine tools laid down on the bench, never to be picked up. Taxis and buses parked, locked, and left behind. Computers turned off, never to be turned on. Assembly lines stopped and abandoned mid-production. Office buildings closed, locked, and left to fall apart. Not from destruction, disaster, collapse, or fiscal sheet balancing, but because the workers decided never to return to work, no matter what the offer, no matter the suffering of the consumers. How rich would you have to be to afford such a strike? Don't think only about money. Think time and space to act in. Think of a mind looking for things to do. Think active support from those nearest you. Think of a network of those who are like-minded. Think about things one's able to do without. And then consider how much we've confused money with wealth. So much so that mothers keep themselves in the working world despite costs that outstrip earnings, both financial and otherwise. So much so that the sons and grandsons of the sit-down strikers of 1937 Flint sat quietly in front of their TV sets as Reagan busted Patco with all prejudice. Yes. Imagine a strike that cannot be satisfied because the strike is the satisfaction of all demands. Imagine being able to get what you need from around you, or go on for as long as you can if it's unneeded. Imagine the boss threatening to fire you. And you responding, "You can't fire me. I quit." Workers of the world, relax. You have nothing to gain but your freedom. Third one, this one basically from a recent visit through an area where I'd stayed around for quite a while. This is an 8-ounce bag of Starbursts. What do you mean it's all downhill from here? One evening, I took a walk through balmy late spring weather, from work through the pouring gay district, the hospital, the alternate business zone, the lower class rental places, malls and car lots, the west side student ghetto, until I finally made it into downtown East Lansing, where, deciding to stay away from the arcade for once, I headed over to the 7-Eleven for a big gulp and an 8-ounce bag of Starburst original fruit chews. After that, I walked home, made a few fruit chews while checking email, chatted with online friends while listening to a CD I'd gotten a few weeks before, and read a few pages of a book I bought from Jock and Dries before going to bed for the night. A walk which now would only show the remains of cartoon gentrification, bloat, or pseudo-benign neglect, depending on where you happen to walk past. Only the 7-Eleven still stands as it was. Take that for what it's worth. Had I been told then that was as good as things would get, I would have laughed at the newsbearer's face. After all, it's not like things had begun to fall apart, and as long as I didn't have to find my way into mainstream society, I would have no problem with things as they were. One last poem, if I may.
Is that a short one?
I'll just leave it at that.
Are you sure? Oh, I've got one more open mic. I don't want to have time for my
Fair
pictures.
enough.
And you already read it. You're like, this is my thing. Thank you. One more time. We're done. All right. Thank you.
I'll go over to the tall mic, apparently. And yes, that first one was a shout out, Ken. Our last reader, oh God, I don't even have the thing here. He's another newbie, and you know, I watched this thing about Star Trek: The Next Generation where they're talking about, hey, you're growing a beard. You know, I think you men are just trying to hide something. Like, it's become an affectation. I know women put on makeup and nail polish and stuff, but growing a beard or something is like, but she didn't say anything about somebody who just chose to grow a mustache. This man better be so awesome, because I'm sure he is. Give it up for this awesome guy. I don't know, I have it right. Mark Hughes? I can't remember for the list.
Dave Hughes.
Dave! I can remember the name. You're right, Dave!
I'll never trust a guy with a mustache. That's a good starting point.
Eat the microphone.
Eat the microphone. Thank you. This is called Alone. The anguish flew from her open mouth. It had grown inside her monstrously, and now free, it took flight like a murmuration of starlings, a dark ribbon of pure pain that twisted and unfurled its way out and over the lake. Her every bone, sinew, and muscle had become a projector that amplified her hurt and then blasted it out into the world. She expelled it with such violence that it left a ragged vacuum, left the place where their love had lived empty. To fill it, nature flattened the plants towards her, the trees strained to curl around her, but in the end, she stood alone over the grave of her best friend. The reply. I'm fighting to get this poor fuck on a cot. He's so shot up, so full of holes, so slick with his own blood that I can barely hold his arms. I swat away his flailing hands in disgust. Let me do my job. I pin his arm with my knee. He is gasping, clutching, spitting, and sputtering, drowning on dry land. Suddenly his rolling eyes find mine, his pupils wide. He desperately tries to tell me. Tell me what? Perhaps his life summation, distilled into one word? It comes like an echo, the reply to a pebble dropped into a well. It rushes up. Why? I look at him blankly. Why, I say. Because you're an asshole, that's why. It's the last thing that he hears, and sometimes that bothers me. This one's called Wait, Make Him Unfiltered. Please, just let it be quick. But of course, you don't even get to ask that, do you? We live with so little dignity, why should we be allowed it in dying? You sneeze while taking a shit, and you burst a vessel in your head, and then suddenly you're praying for death, laying in a bed, mostly forgotten by the world, gurgling to a nursing home staff while they efficiently abuse you, and in some monstrous tango, you mutually strip each other of what little humanity you have left.
And
I really liked the last line of that second one. Knowing those were the last words he said, he heard before he died, sometimes that bothers me. That's really good. Sorry. That was really triple plus awesome. I think we are done on the open breakers, which means we are going to take a 5-minute break.
Hey.
5-minute break. Oh my God, because of our two awesome features, Robin, birthday girl, even has some cake here. Oh my God. And just so you know, Robin, John said to me, he's like, I was thinking I might bring a cake, but then I thought, wait, Robin might bring a cake, so I won't. I swear to God, he was thinking about bringing a cake for you. And he's like, what do you know? So 5-minute break, and we're going to have one of our first of two features, Oz and then Robin. Thank you, and keep trusting Missy. I'll see you in this 5. Thank you. Because we had late bloomers, we are going to do the song again. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, and I even checked to make sure that my voice was okay. Yeah, and I was like, why? Because you've been drinking, and I'm like, yeah, because I had trouble when I drank before. And I'm like, wait, I had trouble with hitting low notes, and I'm doing falsetto and everything on this, so I should be just fine. This is something with altered words. As somebody asked before, it was originally by Depeche Mode. It is a song with altered words, and it is the bottom line. Like a cat dragged in from the rain, who goes straight back out to do it all again. I'll be back for more. It's something that is out of our hands, something we will never understand. It's a hit and run. We are folks, destiny calls. I fall in love with you, like upon an eternal boy who's never quite sure what he's moved towards. I walk blindly on, and heaven is in front of me. Your heaven beckons me enticingly. When I arrive, it's gone. The river flows, the wise man knows. I fall in love with you. I'm yearning, I'm burning. I feel love's wheels turning. Like a moth on love's bright light, I will get burned each and every night. I'm dying too. The sun will shine, the bottom line. I fall in love with you. I'm yearning, I'm burning. I feel love's wheels turning. Like a moth on love's bright lights, I will get burned the sun will shine, the bottom line. I fall in love with you. The sun will shine, the bottom line. I fall in love with you. And I fall in love with each and every one of you. Thank you all so much for being here.